Welcome everybody to this evening's town board meeting of Monday, June 10th, 2024. We're going to begin the evening with a pledge of allegiance. If you'd please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Dennis, you gonna? Nope. No. I'd ask our town clerk to please call the roll.
Supervisor Copa.
Here.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin.
Present.
Councilmember Zuccalla.
Present.
And Councilmember Marinucci.
Here.
Okay, the first item on our agenda this evening is the minutes from Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. I'll motion to adopt those as they appeared in the agenda. Second. All in favor? Aye. And Councilmember Marinucci.
Thank you, Supervisor. I had the opportunity to attend the Erie County Association of School Boards Awards Dinner last week as the liaison to the Department of Youth, for which the town of Amherst received the Hodgson Rest Collaboration Award, along with Sweet Home School District and Zeffel Development for contributions to the community partner for developing an education program which has propelled the district towards greatness and has potential to be replicated elsewhere. This was in reference to the Northwest Community Center, for which I was not yet on the board, so I wanted to commend my colleagues and former Deputy Supervisor Debbie Buckeye for your leadership in that and congratulate the town on this award.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the first public hearing, or the only public hearing of the evening. It's on Resolution 210. It's the 46, 54, 60, 68, 74, and 84 South Linden Street Bicentennial Comprehensive Plan Amendment. I'm going to motion to open the public hearing at this time.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And as soon as Mr. Palumbo can get up there, we'll begin the public hearing.
Good evening, Supervisor and board members. I'm Jeff Palumbo from the law firm of Block Longo, representing the petitioner here this evening in connection with the request to the board to amend the comprehensive plan. The property, as you indicated, is located on South Linden Street and is currently zoned residential. The request, as we'll get into, is to amend the comprehensive plan to ultimately allow a rezoning to a multifamily or mixed residential category to allow the development of townhomes on the property. Just by way of very quick background on the property, as you're all very familiar, the property itself was formerly a roadway, and it was a paper street that was abandoned by the town, and my client purchased that property from the town. Subsequently, we have developed a plan, and you can see here where the property is located on South Linden, shaded in gray with the red dot on it, with the long driveway area into the property area. As I said, the property is currently zoned R3 with a small portion in front being zoned R4. Next slide. So the request, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about this, is that we're not here for a rezoning this evening. The request in the town of Amherst has to be amendment to the comprehensive plan first, and then if the board does decide to amend the comprehensive plan, we would proceed to a rezoning. If that rezoning were successful, then the next step would be a site plan application for the approval of the townhouses, and that would go before the planning board at a public hearing. So we just gave you a little map of what the area looks like, and again, it's shaded in the red dot and circled on the map, the area that we're discussing. And you can go to the next slide, please. And this is a little better picture of what we're talking about and where we are. We have the lamp post immediately adjacent to us to the east. Across the street is single family and a combination of duplexes as well. And to the west, we have single family homes. To the north is the I-90, the interstate thruway, expressway. Next. So this is why, again, we're here. The purpose of this request is to amend the bicentennial comprehensive plan. And as you can see from the map, what we have circled there is in yellow, which is single-family subdivision. That's what the current projection is in the comprehensive plan that was adopted a number of years ago. What we're requesting is mixed residential, which would allow for a variety of different housing types. And what we're proposing is townhouse units. There'd be a total of 2 buildings, and we'll get into that in a minute, and a total of 28 individual units. Next. So this is a layout of what we anticipate the buildings would look like at this stage. And again, this would require far more detail in terms of engineering, for drainage, for landscaping, and so on and so forth, if we complete the first 2 hurdles, which is the amendment of the comprehensive plan and the rezoning. So what we've tried to do, we've had several different potential plans here. This is the second or third concept plan that was created for the project. And originally, we had the buildings closer to the homes. As you can see here, we have flip-flopped them so that we've moved the buildings as far away from the adjacent single-family homes as is possible, and we will provide as substantial a buffer to those houses as we can, and at the same time, putting in the appropriate drainage facilities so that our runoff from our site does not impact those houses now. There was discussion at the planning board meeting of a current drainage problem, and whether that problem still exists, I'm unclear. But I would say, as I said at the planning board meeting, that it is likely, and this is certainly not a guarantee, that the drainage situation will be better after this site is developed with the townhomes, because now the water runs off at an uncontrolled rate and it goes where it goes, typically in the backyards of the folks adjacent to us. That water will now be contained in ponds and released at a rate that is no greater than what is leaving the site now, and in most cases better than what is currently the situation. Next. So this is a picture of what we contemplate the buildings will look like, and these will be first-class townhouse units all the way. We're talking about upgrade and amenities. We're talking about parking spaces for the individual units. We will have potentially some garages for the units behind the buildings, and they will be self-contained units. We anticipate, and we were asked this question at the planning board meeting, who do we expect to be renting these? And we would anticipate they will be empty nesters and young professionals for the most part. Next. And this is a picture of the garages that will be built as well. Go ahead. So what I wanted to comment on is what exists in this area, because there was discussion about whether or not this is truly what the comprehensive plan contemplated when it talks about single-family residential on the site. There's no argument that the existing adjacent property is zoned residential 3, the same as ours. But you can see from the map, when we're considering the entire area, the entire neighborhood, there are as many zoning classifications as I think you can find in the town of Amherst. We have general business, we have motor service, we have R4, we have MFR4, we have R4. Every district conceivable practically is on this map. And this is all within a walkable area. So when we talk about this being a, quote, single-family residential neighborhood, I disagree with that. All you have to do is drive down the street, and I think you agree with me. We have the Lamb Post immediately adjacent to the east. Then there's a single-family subdivision. Then there's the OTB, and then there's a gas station, so on and so forth down the line. The purple shading, I don't know what color that is other than purple, that's the MFR5. So we have it all in the existing area, exactly what we're proposing. Next. And this is, again, just another map showing the multifamily districts that are adjacent, or not adjacent, but in the immediate vicinity of the South Linden property. Next. Then we went and took some pictures of that area. So these MFR5 areas are taken off that map that I just showed you, and these are the buildings that are within those districts. And again, are all in the immediate vicinity of South Linden. And you can see pictures of them here. Next. These are all the areas that we showed on the map. This is another one that shows the multifamily development in the area. All of this is aimed to show and to demonstrate that it's not strictly a single-family residential area. It just isn't. Immediately adjacent to us, yes, there's single-family. But the entire neighborhood, and you take a picture of that entire neighborhood, this is what you find. Next. So again, just continuing on, these are taken right off of the map, the MFR5 maps, and then we traveled and looked at those areas and took pictures of the multifamily buildings within those areas. So again, back to the issue and why we're here, and that's compliance with the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan talks about a number of different policies, the first one being the vision statement. And what we've indicated in our application, which was very detailed, is that we believe that we are providing a diversity of housing, which is not incompatible with what I've just shown you. We also talk about the revitalization of the neighborhood. It's been some time since there was a new development like this in that area. That's good. It brings people to the area. It brings people to the businesses within the area that we showed on the map. And of course, it strengthens the town tax base with the proviso that we doubt that there will be many school children there, given the fact that we believe there will be empty nesters and professionals residing in the townhomes. The second policy is a key initiative policy within the comprehensive plan itself, and we believe that we provide first-class townhouse community, which is one of the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. And again, as I've indicated several times, we believe it to be a perfect area for empty nesters and young professionals. The third vision issue in the statement within the comprehensive plan is land use and development. Is it consistent with the development of the Worley corridor? That's really the question that's being asked here today. Is it consistent with the development of Worley corridor? And I think, and I hope that you agree with us that when you look at the area as a whole and not just one picture of the immediate adjacent property, that the development of Worley corridor supports townhouse development. This will be a low traffic generator. We're talking about 28 units total. And I know everybody says 28 units times 2 cars is 56, everybody's gonna leave at the same time, and then we have a problem. Well, that's really not how it works. First of all, not everybody has 2 cars, and secondly, they all don't leave at the same time. The addition of, even if it was 56 cars leaving at the same time, would not create a traffic problem in the area. No stress on the existing utility infrastructure. The sewer capacity is sufficient, the water pressure is sufficient, and we will detail all of that when we get to the site plan and do our complete engineering. So with that, I would invite any questions you might have and look forward to moving forward.
Okay, sure, Councilman Zuccalla.
Thank you for coming today. 2 observations, and I'm interested in your response to that. The first is the planning board believes that this is not in compliance with the comprehensive plan, as does the town planning department. And your response would be?
My response is that they're wrong, quite frankly. And the reason I say that is for all the reasons that I've set forth this evening. I had a discussion with the planning department before we filed. There was some discussion about whether it was in compliance with the comprehensive plan. It was determined that it was not, which is why we moved forward with the request to amend it. But I just don't see how you, in good conscience, can say that this is a single-family residential area. Not when you look at those pictures, not when you travel up and down Worley.
Okay. Anything further from this board at the moment? There are audience members that would like to, okay, I'd ask you to come up. I'm going to ask you to state your name and address for the record when you get up here. Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Good evening. My name is Steve Martin. I'm a resident of 74 South Harvest Street. To the members of the town board, I believe that the South Linden project actually contradicts with many parts of the bicentennial plan. 2.2 is the vision statement. Livability. South Linden does not meet pedestrian-friendly criteria. It is not interconnected of sidewalks or roadways directly leading into the village, and I don't believe that it will in any way reduce traffic into the village. It does not produce bicycling or promote bicycling. Community character. The project opposes the maintain healthy environment portion to protect against noise, light, sound, and air quality. The existing trees act as our scenic backdrop and as a sound barrier to the neighboring lamppost and to the airport. Lastly, removing the wooded area will not only sterilize the neighborhood, but it will leave a throughway wall and a multi-story complex as our backdrop of the neighborhood. The project does not help maintain green space, which I understand could be seen as parkway, but it also does not protect and establish the trees of the wooded areas and result in downing these trees, especially with the many trees exceeding the 6-inch diameters, and that's in contradiction to the tree preservation initiative. That's the key initiative 2.3. 3.2, encouraging pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. Worley does not have any sidewalks. Our neighborhood does not have any sidewalks. It is not convenient for folks to walk down to the park, and so I don't believe that will either be accessible to bicyclists, and I think that will also encourage even more automobile traffic. 3.5, landscaping and lighting. Placement of these buildings do not enhance visual character of building and design, which is not complementary to ongoing streets and property. As stated previously, I believe the townhomes will not enhance the horizon or make for more of a stark and cold backdrop. The project will not fit in the scale, meaning the existing neighborhood is primarily ranches, so I don't think the scale of 28 homes as well fits into the parcels. Existing infrastructure, keeps hitting on that one. Limiting future sewer service is your wordage. Again, I'm very concerned about adding additional sewage and runoff, considering the rainwater that we have now backs up into the sewage, and many of our neighborhood has actual sewage backup in the basements. And I would believe that that would be taken care of, but I'm not sure if it can handle that. In addition, we've had multiple adjournments and project amendments and edits are seen to me to be an annoyance. I'm trying to be here, I'm trying to listen and learn, and I find that when we try to make time to come here, there's a cancellation, we don't know about these things, and I find that to be more of an icing the kicker tactic. Don't appreciate that. I find it to be unfair, and I don't believe our neighborhood will run out of stamina. We will be here, we are interested, and we want to know what's going on. If the town leads towards approving this project, I ask for an adjournment myself, so that way I can understand what's going on, and I can try to read how it's going to fit. No disrespect to Mr. Mettello or Mr. Palumbo. May I read one last paragraph? In closing, I remind the town of Supervisor Culpo's words in his position stating, there's a lot of problems with this current concept, including the neighboring homes are all one-story ranches and would be dwarfed by the new buildings. This project is a bit of a reach. I don't want the project the way it is. The town board's a long way from ever wanting this. Multiple edits, missing incomplete permits. This is my wordage here. And the use of speculative positions determine how the project enhances the town. and it shows with no merit. And by this, I mean no stress on roadways, no stress on our current sewage. It sounds like just things that sound good. So please avoid any wasting of any time's boards or mine and many neighbors, and please make a good decision. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Mike Marshall, 90 Altair. Could I have the slide back up on the paper street, please?
Can you go to the paper street slide, Tim?
Okay, so if I'm understanding, it's adjacent to the lamppost. Is that on parallel to South Harvest, tying into McIntyre, or on Post Road? McIntyre? Okay, so with that being said, we're going to have a raised section of another housing unit running parallel. What are the chances and opportunities, because you mentioned retaining ponds having to be put in, that the lamppost, green area, and grove won't turn into the retaining pond for this housing section being put up? And if so, what remediation would be done to take care of the lamppost? That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon Kalika, 88 Tristan Lane. Did you look it on the map? It's not a lot of room with all those, with the housing, with the 28 units, plus they're gonna have all the garages too. And they only have one way of getting out with the 52 cars. Look where they're leaving and then getting out to the main road. That's a lot of cars, a lot of housing. Everything is like, every units I hear, which comes to the board here, is either 22, then 26, now 28 we have. Just like the Gleason Farm, the Gleason Nursery, now we have this with another 28 units. It's getting ridiculous, all these different units, different wear and tear, all these changing in the zoning. We gotta stop somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ray Herman, 114 Oak Grove. I just would like to comment briefly on this. Frequently, you have people that live in the immediate neighborhood. I do not. I live close to there, but not in the immediate neighborhood. But it affects everyone in this room, because when you casually change the comprehensive plan, most people, it's their main home is their main investment. And so people buy a home in a neighborhood thinking that the undeveloped land in the neighborhood will be maintained in the same fashion as the other homes. In other words, this is a single-family home neighborhood. And suddenly you're going to put this great big apartment complex right in their backyard. It's all going to be paved, trees are gone, garages are going to be looking at garages. People have pointed out there are ranches there, so you have two-story buildings, people looking down, you have no privacy in your backyard. I just found this offensive to the neighbors, and I don't think that this board should set a precedent where we're just going to say, well, we're just going to amend the comprehensive plan because, well, we could use some more apartments in the town. That's a boilerplate response. I think that we actually need more single-family homes in the town. So I think that this property should be developed in the fashion that it was zoned for, single-family homes. And I would like to say, you know, I've lived in this town my whole life. That immediate neighborhood has not changed. We have it at Cayuga and Worley. There's the Tim Hortons, which I think was something else at one point, and across the street, Charlie the Butcher's. That's the commercial development we're talking about here. You know, they're talking about businesses. Well, that's the only two businesses that are right there. And then after that, yes, there's an OTB. It used to be a nursery, but then that area next to the lamppost, that is all single-family residential. On Worley, those two streets, Harvest and the one after it, and it's been there like that forever. So to have these neighbors suddenly in their backyard, there's this huge complex being put there, which, you know, there's going to be light pollution because, of course, you got to light the parking lot. It's going to diminish their property values. So I think people are counting on you as a town board to protect their neighborhood and don't just say, well, we'll just, developer wants it, so we're just going to give them what they want. So I would just suggest that you take a hard look at this. The planning board, I believe, should be given some deference. They're experienced volunteers. They've been doing this for years. So we shouldn't just discard their opinion on this. You have the power to overrule them. I understand that. But it shouldn't be done on a whim, and you shouldn't overrule the comprehensive plan unless you have a really good reason. Just to finish up, sometimes neighborhoods do change. The character does change. Maybe it becomes more commercial, industrial. So I understand that sometimes it's appropriate to amend the comprehensive plan. Nothing has changed here. So people expect that you're going to protect their neighborhoods, and that's all I have to say.
Hi, Tim Boyle. I have two houses on 46 and 54 South Autumn. I couldn't disagree more with some of the comments I've heard about this project. Primarily, one, I think it's a very reasonably sized project. I think it's a small multifamily project. I think it's high-end. I like the fact that it's taking a neglected section of this section of the town of Amherst that I think has been neglected for many years. I've owned these two houses for 20 years. I've made a very substantial investment in those houses. I think we have an affordability crisis in the town with housing. I think it's across the country right now where we need this type of housing in order. You can't buy a house in the town they start at $300,000 to $400,000. I think there's a great demand for $2,000 a month apartments. I've taken a close look at the renderings, and I'm familiar with the architect. I think they're very tastefully done, high-end units. I hesitated significantly to buy the houses on this street because that was a neglected part of the town. We can call it a residential area. It is not. The thruway is right smack at the end of all of these streets with a 25-foot tall concrete wall that gets used for discarded boats, dead-end parking with whatever down at the end, dumping. It's been an eyesore since I've bought my properties. I love the idea that a developer is going to come in and spend $3 or $4 million and enhance my property values. I've heard people talk about diminishing property values. That couldn't be more true. It is not a residential section. You have the lamp post, the throughway, OTB. I heard Charlie the Butcher. You have 15,000 cars a day on Worley Drive. My two properties back up to the Union Square condominiums, which are right on Union Road. And I have a nice uniform backyard with a vinyl fence, and it's taken care of by an association. It looks fantastic. You have Dollar General, you have Crosby's, you have the old supermarket, you have 100 multifamilies surrounding these properties. So I couldn't disagree more with what I've heard from people that don't live in the neighborhood that have an opinion on it. It is not a residential only neighborhood. It is commercial. I consider the thruway more industrial. And finally, the neighborhood has come up and people are investing. And so I want to see that continue. And I do not believe there's any traffic issues. I don't believe there's any utility issues, any capacity issues. And yes, I do hope that it's also going to contribute to the tax base. Thank you very much for the time.
Hi, how are you? Francine Fabosi, I live at 42 Post. I totally disagree with what he said. I don't know if you own the houses there, if you live in the house. I live on Post. I can't make a left-hand turn onto Worley. I have to go out of my street through Cayuga. I just told my friend the other day, just to get to the 290, it took me 14 minutes on Friday because of traffic. And it took me like 5 minutes once I was on the thruway to get where I was going. I think there's going to be major issues with that many more families moving in. I don't mind if there were duplexes there. I mean, something more reasonable. But my other question is, did South Linden LLC purchase the property knowing that the zoning would have to be changed? That's what I'd like to know. Mr. Palumbo?
I'll answer the question.
Okay. I've said my piece. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Tom Weisbeck. I disagree with this gentleman who spoke before, saying it should be just the residents in that area to speak against it or for it. Everyone has opinion as in town, and if they want to speak it, they should be allowed. Not some guy telling they shouldn't consider someone else's. It's totally wrong.
Hello, my name's Dan Johnston. I live at 82 South Harvest Street. Been living there for 32 years now, and this definitely seems like an infringement on, it's totally a residential area. I don't know how they could say that it's not. With McIntyre being a dead-end street, all of a sudden we're gonna open that up for the apartments or condos. It just seems crazy. But I don't agree with the rezoning it at all. If they could keep it as a residential, I greatly appreciate it, and I think my neighbors all around feel the same way. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Palumbo? So a couple of comments and maybe a question there. And the question certainly about the purchase, but the comments as to so the density you're seeking versus the idea of like duplexes. Is there, you want to just talk a little bit about the?
Sure. To answer the last question, I think that came up with whether or not the petitioner knew what the zoning was. Yes, of course he knew what the zoning was, and he felt, like I feel, that the current zoning was not appropriate for the site, and thought by bringing this action to build a multi-million-dollar facility with 28 townhouses that cannot at all be described as a huge complex would it be appropriate for the site, given the location immediately adjacent to the expressway and the commercial next to us, which is really commercial, the Lamb Post. It's not a single-family residential, it's a commercial development. This provides a perfect buffer between that and the single-family homes that exist adjacent to us to the west. With respect to the issue of density, it's likely that we could put 12 to 16 duplex units in there, which is not a far cry from 28, which would also require a rezoning. And all of those issues that came up, whether it's single-family duplexes or townhouses, have the same issues, and they're all site plan issues. Lighting will be dark sky. It will be no light shed on adjacent properties. Drainage will be taken care of, as I indicated earlier. The situation is likely to be better than what exists now, because now we've heard several times that there's an existing problem there. In terms of the wood barrier that they enjoy now, that would be removed no matter what's there, whether it's duplexes, single-family, or townhouses. So all of those are really site plan issues. So it comes down to whether or not this board feels that a townhouse development is appropriate there versus really vacant land. And I know the neighbors would enjoy the vacant land more than anything else. Who wouldn't? But the reality of the situation is that we will be adding to the viability of the neighborhood by introducing a multi-million-dollar facility that will go on the tax roll immediately. I think I've addressed the other issues. The primarily ranches, I believe that there are some that are not ranches, but whether it is ranches or not ranches adjacent to us, if it was ever developed as single family, those could be two-story as well.
All right, there are further questions from this board at this time? So, we don't, traditionally as a board, we don't vote on land use decisions the evening of the public hearing. So I'm gonna motion to close the public hearing and set a decision date for, is it the 24th? 24th, June 24th. Yep, June 24th. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
What?
Public expression.
Yeah, public expression will be coming up in a few minutes, Tom. We just closed the public hearing. Okay, no problem. Okay, the next item on the agenda, we have a couple of development review actions, resolutions. 501 is a seeker determination on 6,000 and 6,020 North Bailey Avenue, portion Z 2023-09, subject to public hearing at the last board meeting. A motion to adopt the seeker findings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then Resolution 465 is an adoption of local law to amend the zoning map for 6,000 to 620, 6020 Bailey Avenue, portion Z 2023-09, also subject to that public hearing. I'll motion to adopt the local law at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution 502 is a seeker determination on 2280 Worley Drive, Z 2024-01. A motion to, also subject to a public hearing last meeting, a motion to adopt the seeker findings on that related to that project at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Resolution 466 is the adoption of a local law to amend the zoning map for 2280 Worley Drive, Z 2024-01. A motion to adopt that local law at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is public expression. In a moment, I'll motion to open the public expression. First, I'll ask our town attorney, please read our rules of order.
Thank you, and good evening. There will be several public participation opportunities throughout tonight's meeting for you to address the town board with your concerns. It's important that we first review the town board's rules of order with regard to decorum and public expression. For your convenience, there are copies of the full rules of order available online on the town's website. First, with regard to decorum, order and decorum must be maintained throughout tonight's meeting. Pursuant to the rules of order, speakers shall address the board as a whole and refrain from partisan political commentary, personal, impertinent, slanderous, or profane remarks, catcalls, using noisemakers, or other outbursts that disrupt the order of the meeting. Any person who makes such remarks or otherwise disrupts the meeting with loud outbursts, shouting, threats, or other disruptive behavior shall, at the discretion of the supervisor or after motion and majority consensus of the board, be ruled out of order. Can you go to the next slide, Tim, please? Thank you. Back up one, please. Thank you. Public expression. There are two opportunities for you to speak with to the board with comments on topics not covered within the public hearings scheduled for tonight. Per the rules of order, the purpose of public expression is to allow for the opportunity for the public to formally address the board on any matter involving Amherst. This is not a question and answer session or intended to be a conversation with the board. Rather, this is an opportunity for the public to express their opinion on issues that the board will cover during that meeting or bring to attention another issue involving the town of Amherst. Speakers may comment for up to 3 minutes. The town clerk will ring a bell once when you have 30 seconds remaining and twice when your time is finished. When your time is finished, please return to your seat. There is a sign-up sheet at the podium for you to indicate your interest in speaking. Once those that have signed up are finished, the supervisor will ask if there are additional speakers who would like to address the board. A reminder that decorum must be maintained. All remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole, not to the audience or any single member of the board. In the event that the speaker's inquiry is urgent or their comment is inaccurate, the town board members or supervisor may respond for 1 minute after closing public expression. Thank you for your adherence to the town board's rules of order.
All right, I'm going to motion to open public expression at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I got a couple issues. One is about the, oh, I'm sorry, Tom Weisbeck, 48 Drawbridge. I see that your town's getting sued by, for incidents over here off of Sweet Home Road. I won't state the names or anything like that, but one of the publicly things being sued is the town of Amherst, because you own the streetlights. Specifically says in there because poor street lighting. Just want to bring that up, let people know what's happening. It's in the agenda tonight. One of the last things in agendas. If you look through all of them, it's there. Just want to let people know. If you guys didn't own it, you didn't make the decision, it'd be Nagamawk doing business as National Grid being sued because of poor street lighting. So, on that point, last time I was here, I was talking about the Sheridan and Mill with the street lighting, with all the lighting there. Part of the town code is 0.5. Now let me make sure I have that right. Foot candles. I'm just wondering if you have responded to me. I wasn't here 2 weeks ago. I apologize. I would have brought it up then. But I'd like to have an answer, at least address it. Foot candles with what we have on now, the new street lights. What are those foot candles there? Is it breaking the code of the town, or did you guys pass something to change it? I don't know. We had COVID. A lot of that stuff was done when no one was around, so we don't know. So I wanted to ask you about the latest street lighting coming down on Miller. Let's see, make sure I can see this. Miller Crossing subdivision. And then, let's see, which one is the next one? I'm trying to look at Harding Road. So part of it is you're saying the street lighting costs per house. There's 55 homes in the first thing, and it's like 65 cents. It's like $122 per home. So then the other one, the thing I'm getting at is, are you reducing our taxes for the street lighting costs? By adding more street lights, you're creating more taxes on the rest of us. You know, every street light you put in adds a tax. I know that the builders are putting them in, but some are our old homes. That falls on the town taxpayers.
Thank you. Bill Blake, 147 Fairlawn. It's been about a month since I presented this to the board, and I wanted to take a moment to readdress your comment after I was done regarding the Public Service Commission. You said that the Public Service Commission sets the price for the streetlights, and that's not totally accurate. What the Public Service Commission does is they take the tariff from the utility, and based on what the utility tells them, how they come up with the value of the streetlights, they set the method with how much the utility comes back to the municipality and wants to charge them. The municipality, because of the loss of the revenue from the facility charge, will do everything in their power to compensate for that loss of revenue. And Sean, I know I'm not supposed to address you personally, but I referenced the last time I was up a lawsuit in Rhode Island that addresses all of these things that the utility does to make it difficult and make it more expensive for the utility to purchase these streetlights, including the fact that their own people have told the Public Service Commission in Rhode Island that they don't have the systems of where the streetlights are and how much their value is. So they come up with an estimate of how much they should charge the municipalities. In Rhode Island, they did not accept it. In New York, they did. And that's how we come up with the value for them to purchase the streetlights of $5 each. In Providence, $176 each. And in Amherst, New York, $1,600 each. And that something has to be done to figure out why that is. Because it's not right. It's too big of a discrepancy to let go. So when I got done last time, I gave you George Woodbury's card. And I want to say that you have reached out to George Woodbury, and I appreciate that. And I have been contacted by Linda Jewell to come in and share this information in detail to try to come to a resolution to this, because this is wrong. The Public Service Commission is wrong in how they've chosen to allow the utilities to charge the town. And hopefully, we'll be able to get some compensation back on this.
All right, Elizabeth Henderson.
Good evening, Town Board members. My name is Elizabeth Henderson. I'm from West Royal Parkway. Louder. I have been a part of the Royal Parkway neighborhood for over 12 years. 3 years ago, I attended a meeting regarding the improvements for Royal Park. And this was the first time I and my neighbors, many of the neighbors that I've talked to, heard about any improvements regarding the Royal Park. In that meeting, I found out that Damon, along with the town of Amherst, was planning on building a multi-purpose sports field for at Royal Park. We were also told that Damon received a grant and that it was by New York State, and it was actually going to happen. And it was the first time we heard anything about this. A year later, there was another meeting. A representative from Damon came, and he showed a picture of what to expect for the spectators at a game. The picture showed a small section of people watching a game, but it was a very small amount of people. The next meeting that we had as a neighborhood was 2 years later after that meeting, and it was just this past January, and we had found out that we're gonna have a 5,000 seat stadium at that point. I don't know why we would need a 5,000 seats for a small amount of people, of spectators at a game. We did get it cut down to 250. However, there is going to be bleachers that will be able to, portable bleachers, to make it up to 5,000. We also found out last month, there was another meeting, that Damon is going to use this facility, this sports complex, 9 months out of the year, 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, for $1 a year. The only financial obligation that Damon put in of their own money is the $1 a year. For the project itself, they get a grant. It was received specifically for this project. I don't know how this is in the best interest of the residents, not to mention Royal Park neighborhood. My backyard is a beautiful backyard with open fields that I get to see deer, hawks, and a lot of wildlife that is going to be taken a little bit because there's going to be this field back there, or this multi-purpose sports place and a lot of different tennis courts and everything that's in there. I know what I'm saying isn't going to make a difference. We never had in the neighborhood a say. And I feel bad because we never had an opportunity to vote on whether Damon can have our backyard. That is now going to be different than what it is.
Andrea Morganti.
Good evening, Amherst Town Board members. My name is Andrea Morganti, and I reside in Gettsville, New York. I would like to discuss discrepancies that we are finding with regards to the Royal Park project. I have several questions, and hopefully you will answer them at the end of the public expression. Supervisor Culpa, on January 10th, 2020, and as reported in the Buffalo News, you indicated Amherst and Damon officials have discussed the project which would see the town pay for the construction of the field and other amenities and see the university pay to use the field. I don't recall any funds that the university will be expending unless you're referring to the HECAP grant. This grant disbursement contract has not been approved. The project is moving forward without assurance that Damon will secure reimbursement. Their $2.4 million payment to the town could be at risk. Now, if the university does not receive these funds for whatever reason, where would their portion of construction costs come from? In the article, Supervisor Culpa, you said the improvements could cost around $600,000, depending on final designs for the proposed contract. So why are projected construction costs now $10.2 million? We have checked out several expenditures, and we're trying to understand your stated projection of $600,000. For example, the turf field is $3.5 million alone. The building that will house showers, training rooms, concessions, and restaurants has a cost of $2.2 million. The lifespan of the turf per the town of Amherst engineer is 8 to 10 years. So who would be responsible for the replacement? Well, guess what? It will be the taxpayers. Why does Damon have the option to sublease all or a portion of the complex when they don't own the property? The town owns the property. And that is according to page 2, term 5 on the lease agreement. If the town receives a contribution of the 2.4 HECAP grant for construction, is Damon responsible for any future capital costs or just maintenance? A long-term lease for more than 10 years should factor in replacement costs, and those costs be borne or at least shared by the largest users of the components. Additionally, since there are no immediate plans for the Amherst Youth Leagues to use the complex, how is the town receiving $1 per year from Damon in the best interest of the taxpayers? Thank you.
Okay, so Joseph, is it pronounced Borghese? Okay.
I don't really need a mic. Thanks. Good evening, Amherst Town Board members. My name is Joseph Borghese, and I reside in Williamsville, New York. I'm sorry I can't stand. It's not meant as a sign of disrespect. I have an issue that prevents me from standing. Anyway, I have a couple of questions. The first is to you, Supervisor Culpa, regarding the successful petition to stop the taxpayers from financing a theater for musical fair. You were quoted in the Amherst Bee on May 22nd as saying, "We are still committed to the park. We are looking at different funding alternatives. Our intent is to figure out another path." Are you referring to other ways to use our tax dollars to fund building a theater for musical fair? My second question is, if you are looking for alternative funding to use, our tax dollars will you provide specific details on where this money is coming from? We would like to see the minutes from the meetings and/or discussions on figuring out another path. How will the residents be informed of the plan? That's it.
Hey, Paul Francavillo.
Good evening. My name is Paul Francavilla. I reside in Williamsville. Just wondering if there's any updates on the water line replacement for Cimarron Drive.
I'm gonna go through all these right at the end.
Okay. I just, that was my question. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Matt Plunkett.
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. I have some concerns as well about Royal Park, or what I'm starting to think we ought to call it Royal Damon Park. Some of them have already been raised. Well, go back before that. At the last meeting, questions arose about how much Damon was reimbursing the town as their part of this agreement. And other than the princely sum of $1 a year, there's a $2.5 million grant that they're awaiting, I guess, that's going to be their share of it. Basically, they're throwing nothing into this project at all. They have no skin in the game. They're a pass-through agency from the grantor to the town of Amherst, and they have no financial commitment to this project that I can see at all, other than $1 a year. And the supervisor made the point of saying, well, that's true, but we do allow other entities to come into other recreational facilities in the town and use those facilities, and this is no different. Well, it's quite a bit different because, as I understand it, people using other recreational facilities in the town pay user fees to us for it. At the North Town Center, for example, if you want to rent an ice pad for a private party, you have to pay a fee for it. You don't just get to use it. You have to pay for it. I tried to find out how much it costs to what the user fee is for one of the ice pads for a private private party using the facilities over there, and I got led around. My recollection in the past was that they used to, the recreation department used to recommend a fee schedule for that type of thing. The town board would consider it and vote for it. I guess the recreation committee would consider it and vote for it, and then it would be published and it'd be part of the public record. I called over there, I went over there, and nobody could tell me how much the fee was to schedule a private party on one of the ice pads. I was told that I should call or talk with somebody over there, give them the date I want to use, and they'll get back to me with how much it's going to cost. I can't, there's no schedule for this or anything. So I did some looking around and did some research. I called out the Holiday Twin Rinks, and over the phone, they told me that for Holiday Twin Rinks and Leisure Rinks, that depending on the time of day, the day of the week, and so on, the range was anywhere between $140 and $180 to rent their pad. I presume that's for a 50-minute hour or something like that. But I couldn't find out a thing about how much the town's entitled to or how much they bill for this kind of thing. I mean, so that alone, to say that, well, Damon, as everybody else gets to use the stuff too, they don't use, they pay for it. Damon's getting to use this. Somebody pointed out before, that much of the use of this property is largely exclusive to Damon College. And one of the things that they get, among the other things they're getting, is a secure gate so that they can lock up, apparently, the tennis courts and the field and everything. And I don't know who's going to control the lock. I mean, if Damon can lock that facility up, those tennis courts are useless to the residents of the town of Amherst. And I guess my 3 minutes is up, so I'll shut up for now.
Dennis Hoban.
Dennis Hoban, 216 California Drive. I'd just like to circle back with my question from last week. I wasn't really satisfied with the answer, so I guess I'll ask the question again in a little more detail. The civil engineer that was here a while back, not too long ago, about 3-4 meetings ago, he said that if it rained for 4 hours, the sanitary sewers on Millersport Highway would back up. That doesn't sound like a very good, good thing to happen. I happen to know that the roofs down at the highway department are leaking. I don't know, I think you've been in office for about 6 years, Brian. I think the roofs have been leaking for about 6 years or more. I think we should fix the roofs at the highway department. They have tarps up, protecting equipment, computers. I don't know about the board. I am speaking to the entire board, but I don't think any of your roofs leak at your house. Mike, is your roof leaking for the last 6 years? Okay, thank you. I guess not. Thank you for answering. There's equipment down at the highway department that should have been replaced 5 years ago. There's $500,000 machine that's used for cleaning the sewers. That should have been replaced 5 years ago. Are you writing this down, Brian? Thank you. I think that should be replaced. I don't think we should be buying country clubs and bailing out developers. I don't think we should be building theaters for musical fair. I don't think we should be building sports complexes for Damon College. So my question the last time was, why are we building a sports complex for a private university on town property using taxpayer money? Actually, we're not using taxpayer money right away. We're actually borrowing the money. And then the taxpayers have to pay it back. That's even worse. So that's my question. You said you're building it for the taxpayers, Brian, at the last meeting. Yeah, you're building it for the residents. I mean, come on, Brian, that's a joke. You're not building it for the taxpayers. You're building it for Damon College. It's tailor-made for Damon College. I mean, the people that are here tonight, you must think we're stupid if you think we're going to believe that. You even said that evening, well, Damon College wanted a locker room and they wanted showers, so we're building it. You said it that night. The residents of the town of Amherst, if they go play tennis, they're going to go home and take a shower after they play tennis. They're not going to need locker rooms. They're not going to need showers, but Damon University does. It's not right, Brian. You shouldn't be doing it. If you're building this for the residents, well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you put it on in November? Why don't you put it in as a referendum and let the residents vote on it in November, and we'll see if they support it then. How does that sound, Brian?
Okay, Chris Strangowski.
Chris Strangowski, Youngsville. Could I get the Royal Parkway schematic back up, please? Thank you. I'd like to read a statement from No More 11-4, a bipartisan group of Amherst residents who have come together to inform, educate, and stop the financial insanity going on in Amherst. Royal Parkway, it's not a park. It's a Damon Athletic Complex. There are 125 planned parking spaces. That's more parking spaces than the North French Soccer Complex, which has 8 soccer fields and carries a lot of traffic on North French on the weekends, a much larger road than Royal Parkway. The playground is not getting bigger, the locker rooms and the offices are not going to be open for public use, and over half of the park will be dedicated to use by Damon. If you eliminated those parts, you could cut the cost by 60%. Cut the parking, make the park more walkable, and have something that actually serves the residents. No one is against parks and services for residents. I would be happy to contribute my taxes to a $2 million project for a park I will likely never attend. This park, like the theater project, is not for the residents, it's for special interests. It does not serve residents, it burdens them. So, I think this, I don't know if this laser is working or not. The only thing that is benefiting the neighborhood is a splash pad. Never been a big splash pad guy, but if that's what the neighborhood wants, so be it. An enhanced playground, they've already got a playground there. 2 pickleball courts, which are being paid for by a grant. And right here, the 2 pickleball boards, and to be able to walk around this thing. Everything else is done for Damon. 6 tennis courts. We have 34 parks. Guess how many tennis courts are on our 34 parks? There are 4 parks with tennis courts, not more than 4. We have 6. And the reason we have 6 here is because Damon needs 6 tennis courts to qualify under the Division II athletic standards. That's what they're trying to accomplish. In reality, we should have 4 pickleball courts and 2 tennis courts. Pickleball's the hottest thing going in this town. Everybody wants to play pickleball. All right. This park, in reality, this has been an eyesore. It's been discussed for 20 years. I've been on 3 commissions, recreation commissions, and every time I sat on those commissions, this has been discussed. Originally, a long time ago, the reason it was abandoned is because of the noise levels and the quality of the air because of all the traffic on the 290 and coming off here. How this should have been done, in my opinion, is the town should have done all the engineering, all the architectural work, the consulting work, and made it shovel-ready for Damon. Damon then could lease these fields or rent the fields, just like Buff State does to Amherst Soccer, and they pay $150 an hour. This should have been rented out. Or Damon could just pay for the whole thing after, and in response to our providing the architectural engineering and consulting work, we would have access to put this park in here and the walking trails, and that would have been a good situation. Financially, that would have been a financially sound plan. But this is all for Damon. I mean, you've got 120 parking spots. 120. I don't think, if you add all these houses up right here, there's not even 120 houses. And also, you sit on the...
Judy Ferraro, you're next.
You sit on the Community Advisory Board for Damon. Was my time up?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Judy Ferraro, Donnelly Boulevard. Clearly, those in the current ruling class are placing their money and power in a position of their highest priority. These are the ones who have contrived policies that are crushing the quality of life for the average working and middle class of this community. There are many grassroots people awakened to the scam. They are determined to halt such abuses of power. The referendum on Westwood and Musical Fair, a grassroots effort that helped expose the grift, spoke and speaks volumes. These people, if they continue to be focused and united for the betterment of this whole community, are unstoppable and will affect change. All of us together will unscrew the screwed up mess caused by insatiable greed, power, and ego from so-called representatives. Thank you.
Tom Frank.
Good evening, town board members. My name is Thomas Frank. I live in the village of Williamsville. And I gave this presentation at the village board meeting, and that what I'm proposing is the town of Amherst, village of Williamsville, Glen Park Joint Board resolution amendment for the Amherst Central Park Greenway Trail. We just had a summit meeting in Albany. As far as the 500 miles are going to be extended to 700 miles. We're talking about an agreement between the village and the town that goes back to 1977 for the ownership, financing, improvement, and maintenance of Ellicott Creek outside the door here as far as the erosion. And that there are two fundamental parts of the amendment, and it'll be a part of the bicentennial comprehensive plan and include the LWRP, the Local Waterfront Revitalization Plan. The first has to do with the Glen Park connection to the Niagara River Greenway Power Project relicensing settlement. For the $450 million that they allocated to Erie and Niagara County to mitigate the negative impact as far as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers that did the survey of the sinking houses in Amherst. And it extends through 2050. And the second amendment has to do with, as far as the co-lead agencies, that this is going to be a demonstration project. Has to do with the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor, which most people don't realize that the village was incorporated in 1850, and the purpose was to connect the Ellicott Creek to the Erie Canal. And but also, and I have all the information from the Geographic Society regarding all of the kills that as far as what they were doing with the water mills, as far as how they made the concrete here to build the canal from Lockport, and that there's a history mystery here as far as where you're sitting was a French territory, and Albany was a beaver trading post. Thank you. And we're looking at a 5-year development project, but also it ties into the school districts as far as the environmental education, as far as the infrastructure, the water lines, the sewer lines, the highway storm sewers. Great, thank you. As far as restoring the groundwater table, the water out here is contaminated. If you go down and look at the falls, you'll see the foam. If you eat the fish, you're going to die of cancer.
Good evening, town board members. My name is Don Smith, North Long. At the last town board meeting, I promised I'd tell you more about the other application of Monroe versus the city of Rochester. There's a town in the Long Island, right out in the end, called East Hampton, Long Island, approximately 28,000 people. They invoked that doctrine to build a $32 million senior center. They then said, how are we going to do this sort of thing? So what happened was, with their operation, it took me some time to figure this out, is that their planning board challenged their lead agency declaration, at which time the decision went to the commissioner of the DEC to render a decision on whether the 9 reasons for the things were balanced or not. Do you have a decision from this commissioner of DEC stating that you are lead agency on this particular project? Has that been done? Secondarily, if it hasn't been done, then the planning board can at any time, as far as I can tell, unless it said it won't, can declare itself a lead agency and then cause that question to go to the commissioner of the DEC. So at this point in time, that's a possibility. So from what I can tell, and frankly, on this project, this is probably the dumbest project you guys have ever done. Just as simple as that. Okay, but that's, you know, you got to look at it again from a different light. This is obviously for Damon. There's no question about that. Nobody ever is going to meet. And what I don't dislike in many ways is the meetings you held without telling the rest of the Amherst population about the meetings you had over Zoom. Okay, you had one, but it wasn't documented and it wasn't made publicly aware on the town website. So that at that meeting, the reason why Damon you weren't there. Your deputy supervisor, Mr. Lavin, was there, and one of the reasons he gave for why this is Damon's project is because all the people who are students at Damon are also town residents too, and therefore they deserve to have that sort of thing. But if you listen to everybody here, you've made a grave mistake. You've got to reassess this process. And frankly, your use of the matter of Monroe County versus the city of Rochester pulls away the opportunity for the public to be able to go to public hearings at a planning board meeting. The planning board's expertise, even if you say you're using it, is still locking out the public. Thank you very much for listening.
I didn't sign. Should I sign my name? Just state it. Okay. There's no one else on the list right now. Okay, thank you. I wasn't planning on this. I'm Christina Coyle, Lenz. I'm at 64 East Chateau Terrace. And I'm looking at the comprehensive plan from the town of Amherst, dated 2007. That's the correct plan. Okay, thank you. This plan was adopted January 2nd of 2007. How many years ago? That's 18 years ago? 17, 18 years ago. There were amendments made. This is on the website. The Amherst Town Board held several public hearings throughout 2020 regarding various amendments to the Town of Amherst Bicentennial Comprehensive Plan. How were those meetings held in 2020? Were they all on Zoom? Zoom? Well, because by March, everything was shut down. So I want to refocus, and I'm going back to Resolution 2024-210 on behalf of the folks that live in the Linden St area. The vision statement that is encompassed in that plan basically says that it is the vision of Amherst in the year 2018, so there was an update to the plan then, that the town is renowned for an exceptional quality of life that derives from three fundamental attributes: livability, healthy neighborhoods, outstanding public facilities, services, etc. Community character. We manage growth to preserve natural and historic resources, manage green space throughout the community, and revitalize older neighborhoods and commercial corridors while accommodating quality new development. And this plan also provides for shared direction. Now, when you take a look at community character and you dig a little bit more deeply, it says here, we protect and preserve valued open spaces and natural and scenic resources throughout the community. Further, when it talks about shared direction for the plan, it says town government exercises leadership, responds to the concerns of citizens, and challenges them to become positively involved in community affairs. Now, I bring this to you because there have been multiple circumstances across the town where developments have required tremendous adjustments, amendments to this comprehensive plan. For a plan that is this old, it might be time to think about a new plan, a plan that incorporates the community, brings the community in an authentic way so that everyone has their voices. on the state of Pennsylvania states the following: Pennsylvania's 67 counties must produce comprehensive plans every decade. This would suggest that we have some work to do. And I would suggest that you as the town board, as our leaders and our elected officials, please step up. And before you make any more amendments to this plan, please set it aside and consider engaging in a process to initiate a new plan. Thank you.
I didn't get here till late, sorry. Shelley Schratz. I had the honor to sit on that comprehensive master plan committee for years. I wasn't elected. I was a community person, and I have to tell you what Christina just said. It was the most amazing committee. There were the farmers. There were people from everywhere. And the few board members that were part of it, Susan Grelick and I think Jane Woodward, right? You were there, Dan Howard. They sat there and they listened to all the people, and they let all the people discuss it, figure it out, talk about it, and we had a good comprehensive master plan. And every time something came up, the board would sit down and we'd go over it and we'd talk about it with the people that it affected. That's why we had the community groups. The one thing that I've heard tonight and I've been hearing, you know, Amherst is a great town. It's an amazing town. It's a bedroom community is what it used to be known for, the safest town. But what made it so special, and I ask you to really think about it and think about your lives. How many of you have spent most of your life in Amherst? I don't think most of you have. But the people that have, when they bought their properties, like at the golf course, they said, my God, this is beautiful, I'm gonna live here forever. You know, when they bought it with green space or the village, the only thing that doesn't change is the village, because it's not a part of the Amherst, it's the village, and they get to keep their history. No other part of Amherst gets to keep their history. It's always under the gun. It's ready to be, if somebody wants to pay the price, we'll do it. But we need to start looking at it. Who is paying for all of those? All the government funding and the IDAs and everything else. One thing that this town should consider, Sean, you're a serviceman, and thank you so much. We always talk about the lamppost. This town and the men and women that have been going to that lamppost for 1,000,000 years, waiting for dollars to fix what they have, renting it out to anybody in a community, and yet we're giving the college all the money. We're giving musical fair all the money. That's a piece of green space. You remember, Brian, one day you came and looked at it. Your wife was looking at it with Jeannie Vinyl to make some kind of a park there. My point is that's a piece of property in our town, and there's many of them. And as far as Westwood goes, I'm working on some stuff. I think you should consider selling that to some developer, getting some sports people to buy and run that golf course. And the proceeds can not only go to the town residents, but to Children's Hospital, to cancer. It could be a wonderful thing and keep green. These are just different ideas. And instead of going ahead and having your meetings with a few people, making these plans, not a criticism. We need to go back to the old way. And I do think this board should consider putting a comprehensive master plan committee together, begin it, while you still have Dan Howard here who knows how it works and was amazing with it, and other people that work here. The smarts that come from before get us to where we need to be. Thank you.
So Sam Smith, Fruhoff Avenue. First, I just want to give you guys some photos. So kind of piggybacking off of what the last two speakers have just talked about regarding the older parts of Amherst. First off, I want to talk about what was going on with Snyder and the development of knocking down our building. that's now under lawsuit. Bob Dirtle was here last time, and you guys said that we had the testing results. We actually, in fact, do not have the testing results. We have them from the Department of Labor for the asbestos. We do not have them from the Department of Health. The Department of Health is the one who is doing the lead testing. First, they told us, first the Department of Labor basically said, we don't have your results at all. And I have copies of everything here that I'm gonna give to you guys. The other thing is the Department of Health first said, we can't give it to you till the end of May. Now they're saying we can't give you the lead results until the end of July. So demo has continued. Debris has spilled onto a daycare center, especially kids with special needs who are gonna pick up anything. It also is within the community, and we don't actually have any lead results, but it took us how long to even get the asbestos results. So that's this packet here. So while you told my co-resident that we had results, we did not. Trying to speed through this, again, regarding the other older areas of Amherst, the Harlan Road Community Center, I know Gina Gentry brought it up last week about how the roof was leaking. Here's some pictures. I actually, after having a kid, walked around and I said, that roof looks awful. And then she happened to talk about it. I took some pictures. You can kind of see it. Looks like there's a hole in the roof. So I haven't been inside, but maybe that's what's going on. It's also designated in 2023 as a historic landmark for the town. There's St. Anne's currently right now that's going through trying to get a roof, and it's taken them about 2 years, and if this is a problem with the roof, I would highly recommend you look into it now so that it is not a problem. You can see how it's been about 2 years and they're having an issue with St. Anne's. The other thing is one of the photos, there's a telephone pole that is sistered with like a 2x4, and then there's literally rope tied around it. I look forward to those being in the minutes so that everyone else in the town can see, and I don't understand why we put the effort into even doing that instead of just repairing the telephone pole, which is about $3,000. Last time I've looked when someone I know crashed into a telephone pole. In our older areas that are very tree lined, all the trees are older, they're getting cut down, but we're not replacing them. You put it on the residents to replace the trees. We're losing tree coverage. It's becoming hot and oppressive, especially more and more during the summer, and we're just losing the feel of these older areas. We're also losing the road verges. There's a lot of soil erosion going on, and there's not a delineation between many sidewalks and the street. So that's what I have to say. Here's the packet. Here's a more detailed explanation.
I came here tonight mostly, my name is Julie Van Lente, Snyder, New York, Parkwood Drive. I came here tonight mostly to listen, and I've been coming since November, as I've said before, to see how on earth we got to 11.4 increase on top of 5.2 last year, and basically 38.7% increase on my personal home stuff since current supervisor took hold. Over and over and over again, with all the things I'm learning and listening to, there is one simple theme. Instead of buying new stuff and paying for things for groups that really aren't Amherst, like, I love musical fair, but Mr. Kramer doesn't live in Amherst. I love great parks and things, but do we need to buy something for a college when they should have their own funding? My kids grew up in this town, went to the soccer fields over and over. We have porta potties. They also refereed in Buffalo, Western New York, so we got to see what else is out there. And West Seneca has an amazing facility that was partnered with Salen's. They have, I don't know how, but it's a wonderful facility. They even have bathrooms instead of porta potties. Over and over, we see the infrastructure issues. The main thing is fix and maintain and properly care for what we already have instead of buying new shiny things that are going to rot later. That's all I have to say.
John Traber, 234 Mount Vernon Road. I'd just like to parlay off that. I am looking for some clarification on why this town had to raise taxes 11.4%. I had emailed a few people and I've got some long-winded explanations, but could this board, maybe at the end of this meeting, tell us the top 3 reasons for the current tax increase, and could they keep it very simple as maybe manpower, medical expenses, whatever. And along with that 11.4 tax increase, how can this town in good conscience spend any taxpayer dollars on any project for a private institution while they're facing a tax increase of such a huge tax increase? Prior to the last meeting, I had asked Mr. Culpa about residency requirements for town employees. And I'd like to ask this question. If information is developed about town employees that are living outside this town, who should this information be forwarded to, and who will take action to terminate the employee or compel the employee to move into town? If you could let me know, that'd be great. Thank you.
Second.
Agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
We have a couple of items on the agenda tonight. I'm going to go through those, go to public expression, and answer some of these questions. Sorry. Okay. First item on the agenda is a consent agenda. I'm going to ask our town clerk to please read tonight's consent agenda.
Town attorney 3, 4, 5, 6, town clerk 1, 2, 3, building maintenance 1, 2, controller 1, engineering 1, highway 1, human resources 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, information technology 1, police 1, sewer plant 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, youth and recreation 1, communications 1 was consent, 2 was refer to attorney and planning, 3 was referred to attorney. Public improvement permits, 1 was consent, 2 was consent. Thank you.
Okay. A motion to adopt the consent agenda. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Next, I'm going to motion resolution 503. It's the lighting district extension, Miller's Crossing subdivision final order. I'll make the motion to approve that this time.
Second.
On the question, I'd ask our town clerk for a voice vote, please.
Supervisor Copa?
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin?
Yes.
Councilmember Zuccalla?
Yes.
And Councilmember Marinucci?
Yes.
Next item is resolution 504, an extension of the consolidated lighting district, Harding Road subdivision final order. A motion to adopt that resolution as well.
Second.
On the question, I'd ask our town clerk for a voice vote, please.
Supervisor Copa?
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor Lavin?
Yes.
Councilmember Zuccalla?
Yes.
And Councilmember Marinucci?
Yes.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the next round of public expression. A motion to open that round of public expression at this time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Dave Howard, 194 Raycroft Boulevard. Thank you, board, for letting me talk. I'd like to talk a little about Charles Hugh Allison. He was the architect for Westwood Country Club. He's world-renowned. He's no longer living with us, but he also did Park Country Club. So we both know, or we all know, that Park Country Club is a beautiful golf course, but Amherst residents, unless you're a member, are not playing there. We have a chance to bring back Charles Hugh Allison's vision, his golf course at Westwood, for the residents of the town of Amherst. I think we should really consider bringing his architectural design back so the town of Amherst can actually play on a nice golf course. If you go over to Audubon right now, you're in a swamp. No carts have been out the last 2 days. People are walking, they're leaving early, and the amount of money that you're going to have to put into that golf course to bring it up to probably what is over at Westwood right now is millions upon millions. I mean, I'm not saying Westwood's not going to cost some money to bring back to life, but obviously it was designed by a world-renowned architect. I don't think Audubon was. I really think you guys really need to take a look at that again. I also want to talk, 2 meetings ago, we were talking about the speed hump, and somebody laughed at me, gave me a face, and I walk outside here, guess what's in the parking lot? A speed hump. So they do work. And the other, let's see, I'm not going to talk about Royal Park because everybody did a really super job on it. Shouldn't be something we're doing. Bad, 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 bad. And that's it. So really, take a look and look up Charles Hugh Allison. Get some information. Thanks. Thanks.
Chris Rangaski again, Youngs Road. With respect to Westwood, it would cost less to bring Westwood back as a golf course. I'm just talking the golf course, not the clubhouse, because the clubhouse is a disaster just waiting to happen. But it would cost less to bring that golf course back than the cost of building a theater building or a sports complex. Then you'd be able to sell to the developers in this town, which was the original plan, the back end of Audubon. Actually, I'd love to see that medical complexes continue on the back end of Audubon. If you couldn't develop it as medical complexes, if there's not a market for it, you could then put more student housing or even senior housing back there accessing Millersport Road. Then you could expand the driving range into a real golf range, golf center, which we had talked about years ago. You could locate the archives building on the east side of Audubon. You could even, and which definitely should be in the planning stages, you could even put a new highway department building on the east side of that property. So there's a lot of possibilities to move forward with Westwood. It started as Westwood coming back, doing a swap to become the town golf course, because the Audubon property, quite frankly, is the worst piece of property in the town. It's all clay, you can't drain it. It was never designed to be a marquee golf course. It was a farmer's field, which then the university turned into a golf course, and they abandoned it because they wanted to develop their own golf course, which is now Nature View Park. But, we need to be, and when you sell the property, the back end of Audubon, to develop either for medical complexes or student housing, that would lower the cost of rebuilding Westwood. It would probably be half of what it would cost to build a theater building. And the only wild card in this whole thing is no one has definitively determined whether that property, the level of contamination at that property, and what the remediation would have to be. No one. We keep heeing and hawing about it, but no one, the DEC, has come out and said, this is what is contaminated here, and this is the type of remediation you need to do to be able to do a golf course, a theater, or a museum. That's humorous. So I would strongly encourage, let's go back to the design, let's go back to the planning, let's go back to the concept of bringing back, looking at a cost analysis of bringing Audubon back, Westwood back as a town golf course, and then looking to sell the back end of Audubon for medical complexes, which would pay for the redevelopment of Westwood. Thank you.
Matt Plunkett, North Hill Drive. I want to talk a little bit more about Royal Damon Park. I was concerned today, as I said, trying to find out how much the town charges to lease its ice rink and that sort of thing for private purposes. it wasn't just the fact I couldn't get an answer, but it seemed as if I was being led around and people were trying to avoid giving me an answer. I was told to call back later, to go here, to talk with this person, to tell them what day I wanted to use the facility, and they'd quote me a price and that sort of thing. And yeah, it was like trying to get the recipe for Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that's more secretive than how much it costs to rent the rink for an hour. But going back to the park, you know, it was pointed out earlier that, you know, Damon has the right to sublease the whole of the facility it's renting. So when they're not using the tennis courts, they can then sublease it to somebody else to use, and the town won't be able to use it at all. And you know, they're getting all of that for $1 a year. You know, that's outrageous to me. I can't understand how the town would enter into an agreement like that to surrender so much of its own recreational policy or property to a private enterprise. And I know it's not IBM, but it's still a private organization. And under circumstances that they control the bulk of it, and they have almost absolute control of it. I mean, they say, well, you know, they say they agree they do not have absolute control of it. Effectively, they do. I mean, when it comes right down to it, I just don't understand how that works for the town of Amherst. I can't understand why the people of this town are being expected to cough up $7.5 million to make it so, when all they're throwing in is $2.5 million that they got from somebody else, and then $1 a year on top of it. That makes no sense at all to me. You know, there's got to be a million ways to remodel that park that works for the benefit of the residents. If we're going to pay for it, it ought to be done for the residents. It shouldn't be done for Damon University or college.
Don Smith, North Lawn. Nobody here is your enemy. They're the friends of Amherst. We differ in what we want. You want something, we want something else. We're the residents. We own the town. You're our elected officials. Your job is to listen to us. You don't do it. That's not the way it's supposed to work. If you look at Royal Park, you'll see that the field is shoehorned right along the back fence of the properties there, with about 5 foot left over there. That's not what that park should be. It's simply too big of a field and too small of an area. It's not designed well. It's designed for a purpose, and we all know what that purpose is. We have to accommodate Damon. That's the purpose. We figured it out. You don't have to tell us it's for something else. We've all figured it out. If it wasn't for Damon, it wouldn't be the size and the amount of money over there. The grant they were supposed to get was from the Dormitory Authority of the state of New York. That's for $2.4 million or so. There's a bond note for $7.16 million currently in the 2023 B section of the long-term debt thing. So that ban is going to be used to fund that part of the project. When I said this was the dumbest project I've ever seen, it's not because I was trying to be offensive. I'm not. I truly believe this is a shoehorn project, not for the people. It doesn't make any sense, and you haven't explained it anywhere near in a way that actually makes sense to us. So how are we supposed to believe that you're working for us if we can't believe what you're telling us? It's not working. So you've got to, my job here is to do one thing, and I'm probably not doing it. That's to get to change your mind. I'd like to get you to change your mind and come up with a great, there are some great people out here with some great ideas, even if you don't like the people. Think about the ideas they give you, not about the people. Their ideas are what is important, not the personalities. If the ideas are good ideas, use them. If they're not good ideas, don't use them. But give them a reason and include the public in the process that you're running. Right now, you're not doing that. We know that. You know that. And it ain't working. Thank you very much for listening.
Tom Weisbeck. A couple things. One is of the town board here. Is there any of you guys are on a board for Damon? None? No, I'm just asking, are you on any commissions for Damon College? Brian? No answer? Okay, so another thing is the legacy of the town board of Amherst. It'll be, you heard this speech from me before. History will tell that you increased our taxes. History will also tell that you started all the tax increases throughout Western New York here. You were the first community who brought it up. You will be followed all your career, all of you. Are you proud of that? Okay, so my street light across the street, I measured it. It's only 10 feet high. In a town, we got 16 footers. You're telling me I've been overcharged my street lighting taxes since 1984? I should be refunded. You overcharged me. Well, that was Niagara Mohawk, but you collected it. Do you know what Niagara Mohawk is? I'm sorry, National Grid. But it is still Niagara Mohawk doing business as Niagara Mohawk. I mean, doing business as National Grid. So, what else did I have to tell you? I'm really like to find out about this foot candles, 0.5 foot candles here. I know Jackie's not here. How do you get business with only 4 of you guys done? Don't you need 5? No? Oh, well, is she getting paid today?
Yep, she's collecting the salary.
Oh, come on. If I called in sick, I'd have to use a sick day. Did she use a sick day today? Or took a vacation? Come on. You know, I mean, this is a town board meeting. She should be here. This is her responsibility. And she's the one who she was the lead person on a street lighting. So she should be here. And if someone brings up street lighting, she should have the answer right now and then. None of this, I'll look into it. Where's the foot candles? I asked that a month ago. Yeah. No? What about Chateau Terrace? That house? You guys put it on Historical Society, right? Or made what did you do? I forget what happened on Chateau Terrace. Preservation. What did you do to it for? Anything? No? Come on. Be responsible.
Forget it. Too much
Hi, good evening. Karen Howard, 194 Roycroft Boulevard. I just have a really simple question that I'm just curious about. So when you take out bonds, like say for example, $7.5 million of bonds, what's the total cost? Because it's like, I don't know what the time frame is, or obviously it's, you know, you have assumptions on the interest rate and so on and so forth. But I'm just curious what the total cost would be to the taxpayers when you actually pay back those bonds. Thank you.
Well, here, might as well say a couple words. Good evening. Do you need my name again, Brian? Dennis Hoban, 216 California Drive. Thank you for allowing me to come back up again. It's a wonderful experience. The infrastructure, I'd like to talk about that a little bit. It's funny, a couple weeks ago I sat down with a civil engineer from West Seneca, and we were talking, and he said that West Seneca sets aside $5 million every year for sanitary sewer maintenance. And the civil engineer from Amherst said that you guys are setting aside $1 million. When I told them, there was a guy from a civil engineer from Cheektowaga as well. And when I told them that, they were shocked. He actually told me, you know, you realize that you can't even do a study, you couldn't even do a study in the town of Amherst on the sanitary sewer systems. It would cost you about $800,000 to do a study. So they said if you set aside $1 million a year, you're never gonna be able to maintain your sanitary sewers. Just so you know, West Seneca has less than half the population of the town of Amherst. They're setting aside $5 million a year. We're setting aside $1 million. So basically, I guess it would be like you're playing the violin or the fiddle while Amherst burns. The infrastructure is crumbling, and you want to build sports complexes, theaters, move museums, buy defunct country clubs. I don't understand it, and I don't think these people do. That everybody tonight basically said the same thing, Brian, and I'm not sure, well, I'm pretty sure you're not really listening. You're just moving ahead. You're just going forward with all these silly projects you have. So we need to focus on infrastructure and services in the town. All the rest of the stuff is frivolous. Thank you.
Second. All in favor? All right, I have a couple answers to some of these things before we adjourn tonight. First, regarding the question about, we did start talking about Damon in January of 2020. We started talking about the Royal Park project. Prior to that, and Royal Park's been something that had been discussed by our rec department going all the way back to a 2016-2017 study about what we should do with parks. We also identified the need for turf and turf fields to offset the fact that we have a lot of times where our soccer, football, lacrosse fields are underwater. There is a need for turf in this town. We found a way to do it with Damon basically saying we can come up with $2.4 million. Whether that's through the HECAP grant or not, we expect Damon to come up with money. And that puts a turf field for all of Amherst use available at Royal Park, where we currently have 2 defunct baseball fields. And we're able to make several other improvements to that park, major improvements to a park that's been dilapidated for a while. So I think it's a good project. And I'll maintain, I think it's a good project. It's good for the community. It's good for Western New York. It's good for Amherst residents, especially Amherst residents in that area, or Amherst residents who have a need for youth sports access, who like to play tennis, who like to play pickleball. It's a good project. It's a rehab of an old park. We talk about fixing things. Am I referring, so somebody asked, what am I referring to in terms of tax dollars for musical fair versus, no, we are not funding a musical fair project with any sort of bond or government issuance. We're helping musical fair identify some kind of private funding to offset it right now, because that's clearly the direction that we're heading. But you know, we are allowed to help them partner with philanthropy. In terms of Cimarron Drive, it is in the capital plan for 2025. It will be in the capital plan for spring 25 for that water work. In terms of who controls the facility, again, it's a town park. The town has access to all of the field, and the town has access to the tennis courts. Town has access to the restrooms. The restrooms complement the splash pad. The town has a splash pad coming in there. These are good things. They're good things for community and good things for users. In terms of sanitary, I'll get to sanitary sewers in a minute. In terms of, some more Damon questions again. Damon's been talked about for some time. It's not new. It's something we've been heading towards, and I maintain it's good. I think residents in that neighborhood have been accepting. They like the project because it's investing in their park, it's investing in their neighborhood. Some might disagree, and some are going to disagree. Not everybody's going to agree on any one thing. Developments in terms of the new comprehensive plan, yes, we probably should start to look at a comprehensive plan. We have used amendments to comprehensive plan in the past, and there's probably an overhaul that's due. And I'm saying that as a planner. At some point, you just say, okay, we're going all the way to comprehensive plan. We want, there's all of our public amendments, the amendments we made to the center zoning, to the general business zoning, to the agricultural framework, those are all done with very public meetings. In the ag business plan, the ag plan that we've adopted, the SA plan that we're looking at, those should all be attributed to the comprehensive plan, but then it's time to take a step forward and renew. And every so often, we should be renewing that. Let's see. In terms of the land post, yes, there's an interest by this town board in ensuring the stability of land posts and all of our veterans posts, including, and whatever we can do to help them, we will. We have been for a long time working with the Jurek Post to figure out how to create stability there. That's, of course, in this town's interest. Harlem Road Community Center has no leaks in the roof, verbatim, just none. There might be some slate that somebody says that looks old or it looks damaged. There's no active leaks in that roof. We did landmark the building so that we can proceed to look for SHPO funding. Regarding employees who are reporting to live in Amherst who don't, HR maintains that responsibility, and you should file comment with our Human Resources Department. Regarding I think I got it right, Charles Allison, did I get that right? Charles Hugh Allison. We'll take a look at Charles Hugh Allison. In terms of the idea for Westwood and student housing or Westwood and medical complex, that's something that our board spent the better part of, for some of us, our board spent the better part of 7 years trying to figure out where to go with this next, following a previous board dealing with it for 8. It's an ongoing conversation, just like everything else, as to what should happen and where the town should head. Regarding speed humps, I do like speed humps personally. When we tried to put them in streets, the streets are 50-50, residents for, residents against. And so it's really been very difficult to get them implemented. If you drive through City of Buffalo streets, they definitely decrease speed. But residents on streets where we're putting them in have come to these meetings, and it's been split probably evenly, which makes it difficult to implement. Regarding bonds, the bonds that were referred to, like when we refer to Damon, it's a bond authorization. It's a maximum borrowing amount. It's not the amount that you actually intend to spend on the bond issuance. That means that you have short-term borrowing and long-term borrowing. The terms of our bonds are not set until we have a bond sale. We sell bonds in October, and depends on the length of the bond and basically on the payback period, just like it would on any other loan. Right now, I forget, were we at the short-term borrowings at 3 and what do you say? It was like 3.4 right now. Long-term debt was about 4.25 last time we had a bond sale. Regarding infrastructure, the last thing I'll say, this town spends $1 million a year just on slip lining sewers. We spend more than that on sewers annually. Slip lining alone is $1 million a year. We don't need separate engineering costs in order to do that. That's how we get these numbers. So that said, I'm going to motion to adjourn.
Wait, I have one thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification, because I am an attorney. As for the lawsuit that has been filed, that is being referred to legal today, the plaintiff alleges that the ownership of the roadway had poor lighting, and therefore that's why the accident occurred, not because of who owned it. They allege that the town of Amherst, Erie County, and the Erie County Department of Public Works. So just a point of clarification about the reason for inclusion of Amherst by the plaintiff. Does not mean we agree, but that is the point of the lawsuit and will be handled by legal. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.